The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network. Imagine a place where mental health, resilience, sports, and the power to never give up all come together. This show is about life. It's about mental health. It's about bouncing back stronger than ever. This is Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore.
Hey guys, welcome back to Reset and Rise with Amanda Moore. I'm your host, Rad Rob Francois, along with my friend Amanda Moore. Good evening, Amanda. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. I'm excited for our guest tonight.
Yeah.
Our very first guest.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be great.
So, anything new with you this week before we bring her in?
No, other than battling the heat of 95 plus degrees.
Which is hot. Is that typical for Idaho?
Yeah, about this time of year. Yeah, it is.
Nice.
And plus
Okay.
allergies are flared up, so that's awesome too.
Yep, I deal with that as well. I hate allergies. My word, I take something for it usually every day. But yeah, I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the honors. Introduce our guests for us.
Okay. So tonight we have Heather Sterner. She's a member of the Professional Women's Bowling Association. She just came off of a couple of tournaments this past week. One was in Rochester, New York, if I'm not mistaken, and then the Pepsi Open. And so she didn't do too bad. Heather, I first came upon Heather. I have the message still from June 5th of last year. When I messaged her, I happened to be boarding a plane, and her article in the Bowler's Journal was in there talking about anxiety and panic attacks and how it is to be a professional athlete and battle all of that. And at that same time, I had been dealing with some of that around the same time last summer. So I messaged her off a whim, just out of the blue, and she messaged me back to my surprise. And then she kind of gave me some encouragement and support, and off we went. And so when I was thinking about who to have on the show, I thought, I love bowling and I admire some of these professional athletes for everything that they've been through and their tenacity and resiliency, and thought back to that article with Heather and thought she'd be great for the show. Not only is she a professional bowler, but she's also a nutritional coach. She does a lot of, I think she has, it's called Body Fit, for tips and tools for athletes in working out and handling everything professionally. So she's going to be great on the show, and I can't wait to hear what advice she has and everything that she's been through in life to help some of us on our journey.
Sorry, my daughter just ran into the room.
You're okay.
No, honey, we just started. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yes, let's bring in a very special guest, the one and only Heather Sterner. Heather, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you.
Hi, thank you for having me on this wonderful Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
Not a problem. When Amanda messaged me and said that she wanted to have you on, I'm like, yeah, perfect. Like, absolutely perfect for our first guest. So super excited to have you here. You gave a little bit of your bio through the email. I put it in our description of the show. But before we get into that, we're both bowling nerds. So I do have to ask you, have you been a bowler your entire life?
I had, well, since I was 3 or 4 years old, and just kind of like shoving the ball down the lane however I could. Yeah.
That's what you do, huh? You just roll the ball down the lane. Huh? She uses that little, like, put it like a ramp, and it just rolls down.
A little ramp. The ball.
Yeah. So when did you start competitively bowling?
Oh man, it was a pretty early age actually, because my brother is 7 years older than me, and he was big into bowling. So he was in all the junior travel leagues and doing all the local tournaments and everything. So I remember there was I think it was like 7 or 8 when they would like bring you up out of the bumper leagues and into the the big kid leagues.
Yep.
And I remember they brought me up a year or two early. They're like, I think you could do fine without the bumpers. We're going to move you up early. So I moved up early. So I started the travel leagues. I might have been middle school, early high school. I'm sure my mom is probably watching and she knows every detail of this. But I jumped into like those travel leagues and everything pretty young.
Yeah.
Did you have junior bowlers tour?
I did the same thing with that, Heather. The travel leagues. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I miss it. I miss those days. But yeah, I mean, ever since I was in, it's just youth travel leagues, but I was taking it so seriously. I wanted to win. I was very competitive at a pretty young age.
Yeah. That's awesome. So my question to you is, when this is kind of getting into the tough stuff right away, but I know when you talked about when your father passed away, that's when you kind of noticed that your anxiety and panic attacks were a thing. Did you ever experience anxiety when you were younger bowling as well? Like, I know for me, when I was in high school, we went to state my senior year, and that was the first time I ever felt like jittery, sick to my stomach nerves. And I thought it was just like nervousness. And it was actually, if I look back on it, it was all the telltale signs of anxiety, of performance pressure and just self-pressure. So curious to know, like, have you experienced this your whole life, or is it just kind of more of a recent thing in recent years?
I feel like it started more around the time of college bowling. And I think a lot of that, some of it was self-imposed, of putting more and more pressure on myself, and just like, the stakes felt like they were getting higher. You got more people behind you. So I think a lot of the performance anxiety really increased at that time. But I didn't notice anxiety happening in other areas of my life until being on the PWBA tour and the last few years. I feel like everything really ramped up, and things that never used to bother me before, like really just, it would take days to bounce back from and understand what's going on. Yeah.
Okay. So I know when I messaged you last year, I read that I still had that message with your article in the Bowler's Journal. And before that, I really had no, like, I'd heard of your name. Obviously, your husband's Jason Sterner, who like everybody loves and knows Jason. You can't not love the guy. But I read your article, and it just, my heart sank, because I read parts of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is exactly how I felt. Like, she's describing my feelings to a T. And so I reached out to you, and that is about the same time I started noticing I was having not just everyday anxiety, but it was performance anxiety. Like, when you're staffed with certain companies, you want to rise to your full potential, and you want to represent their brand well, and then you want to bowl well. And then on top of going to professional events, you're also going to leagues, and there's a certain component there where people put a presumption on you of how you're supposed to bowl in league as well. So that's why I reached out to you, and what you had to say to me. I mean, the little bit that you messaged me back and forth was very encouraging and inspiring. So I'm just curious to see, I'm also a fitness fanatic and very into nutrition. So when I found out all of that about you as well, does all of that stuff, I mean, I know it helps me, and I should be a little bit more, I guess, cognizant of how those are benefiting each other. But how much have you found, do you get more satisfaction off of it helping you professionally as an athlete, or do you get satisfaction of knowing you're helping other people and that is helping you at the same time?
Oh man. Oh, that's a tough question.
Yeah. I've always wondered, like, I find things help just me, and then I find things, me helping others, helping me as well. Yeah. So I didn't know if, like, your fitness and nutritional coaching, and I know you coach, your head coach, right, for bowling as well. So I just wondered if that helps your anxiety more helping other people, or if you get satisfaction in both ways for yourself and for them.
Yeah, I think it's both ways, because really that's how I ground myself, having my health and that time in the gym. Like, that's my me time. That's when I, get to feel like I'm building my confidence. I'm doing, one of my values is hard work. That's one of the things my dad taught me, like, work hard for what you want. And so when I'm in the gym, I feel like I'm putting in that hard work towards my goals. So it's very, very satisfying to me. But now as I get older, I definitely get more and more satisfaction out of the fact that I'm inspiring the people around me that are watching me, that regardless of how I perform, them just seeing me put that work in regardless. You know, you never know who you're inspiring. And I saw that this week with, you know, there was a couple people that followed me while I was bowling throughout this week, regardless of how I was bowling. And they even told me, you know, JJ, 12 years old, told me, it doesn't matter. You could bowl the worst ever, and I'm still going to be back here cheering for you. So it's just like that reminder of you don't know who you're inspiring just by being you and doing the things that you do to take care of yourself and achieve your goals.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. If I'm going to be honest with you as like a average bowler, I would say the people that inspire me the most are the people that are humble and down to earth, and they don't sugarcoat anything. They tell you, look, I had a bad day. I wasn't like you, like you're very real. And you get to the point where you're also, it's not just like, oh, I went and bowled this. Look at me. I'm so great. I'm here. It's, look, I struggled today. This was why. This is what I need to work on. It's very real. So it gives people like me hope that, you know, someday I could be at that level if I just put in the work and work through some things. Obviously, nobody's perfect, but I'm curious. I've always heard as a previous bodybuilder that bodybuilding and bowling do not go hand in hand. And I'm like, that's correct, but fitness and bowling do go hand in hand because you have to be agile and limber and everything. So I'm curious to how much of your fitness knowledge do you take into your students that you're head coaching? Like, do you have a whole program built for them with physical fitness and nutrition as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had a couple previous coaching jobs in the college world, and I would manage their strength and conditioning programming off the lanes. But this head coaching role is really interesting. It's a D3 school. It's Hobart and William Smith College. And they have, for a D3 school, they have 4 full-time strength and conditioning coaches, which is like unheard of.
That's
So
awesome.
this is the first head coaching role where like I actually don't have to do the strength and conditioning programming because they already have all of that taken care of. Otherwise, I absolutely would do that. But I get to communicate with those strength and conditioning coaches about what I want my team doing. How often do I want them lifting, you know, mandatory lifts? And actually this year, I don't know if my girls are going to like this, but they're going to have some standards to meet of like, you know, we're going to do some testing like other sports do testing so that we can track your progress and make sure that you're getting healthier throughout the year and not going backwards. It's very, very important to me. And when I think about when I'm coaching the college girls, it's not just for the game, it's for when they transition out of college and into the real world, like having those habits of being healthy already in place, like already going to the gym, having a gym routine, having that in place before you go out and start, you know, building a family, having a work life and all of these things. I think that that's really important too for them.
And it creates some stability too with the program. So it'll make them better. So you're helping them already become better athletes, whether they stick with it or not. So when we read your bio, I read about your father's passing. Obviously, you were talking about the anxiety that came with that and then some panic attacks. And I remember a post, you and Jason were traveling recently as well, and you experienced some panic attacks, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
I want to make sure I read that right.
On a plane.
On a plane. Okay, so after, obviously when someone passes away, we go through the grieving process and it's super hard. So how much has that changed the way you go about your everyday life and how you deal with your anxiety? Like, what's your coping mechanisms? Do you have any outside of just going to the gym and working out and bowling?
Oh man, it's changed so much about my perspective on life. I might get really emotional here, so I apologize. But one of the last things I remember my dad saying when he watched me bowl was I was getting really upset. I was getting frustrated and mad. And he's like, Heather, it's just bowling. Like, life will go on. It's just bowling. And I like that sticks in my brain now so much because at the end of the day, you have family and friends, and yes, it's bowling. It means a lot to the people that do it when you do it at this level, but it really changed my perspective on that of like, it's just a bad day on the lanes. You know, if you get to wake up tomorrow and go back out there and compete again, that is a blessing. So yeah, it made me grow up in a lot of ways, losing my dad. But it's made me more, I would say, more grateful for the little things in life. And part of my coping mechanism outside of just the gym and competing is finding gratitude in little things, like making sure that I'm taking the time to do like little hobbies here and there. Jason laughs at me because I love gardening. I'm like a plant lady now all of a sudden. And that's just one of those little things. Like I just love picking out some flowers, you know, and just like planting flowers. And like that, to me, it takes my mind off of other things and it puts me in just like this very calming place. So I think it's easy, especially as like a high level competitor athlete, to get so wrapped up in like all the work that you're doing, like work, you know, no days off, got to hit the gym, got to practice, you forget to do these little things that you enjoy in life. And I think after losing my dad, I really take more time to do that for myself, for my family, because you don't know how long you're going to have time with your family members. So now that I have my daughter, I think that also really, really changed my perspective too. In addition to losing my dad, it makes me want to spend more time off the lanes, like really finding more of a balance, right? So when I'm on the lanes, I'm enjoying it more because I'm not putting everything to the side. I'm not, you know, ignoring all those other areas of my life just to go out and compete. I'm remembering that I'm more than just a bowler. You know, there's more to my identity than just being a bowler. There's more to who I am, things that I enjoy. And I think that has been a really, really important role in managing my anxiety that I went through and continue to go through and experience.
Yeah. And believe it or not, I'm starting to see more and more female bowlers, especially, taking to the gym or fitness related things, yoga, cycling. It's because it's a mental release, because we do put so much pressure on ourselves when we're bowling. I know I always used to get so mad in league if I didn't bowl well. And now I laugh because I go to tournaments that the payout's not the greatest, but a lot of people are bowling like you're bowling for thousands of dollars, you know, like the US Open or something. And I go to league and I just laugh at these people. I've made comments. I'm like, why are you so mad? It's league. You're supposed to have fun. And this is where you're supposed to work on things. And if you're not doing tournaments, then, you know, you're just bowling league. It's just like you said, your dad said, it's just bowling, just bowl. And so I think a lot of times we forget that. I know previously my coach, Bob Harvey, had told me, you know, everybody has an outside job. They have an outside life. They have outside stressors. When you walk up to that door, before you open the doors, there's a bucket, and you put all that in the bucket, and you go in, you have fun, and you let loose, and you just bowl. And he's like, I remember one time he told me, like, finesse the ball, like, don't rip on it. Don't take your aggression out on it. Don't get mad at it. Just finesse the ball. And he's like, finesse your life. And so I always remember when he says that stuff. And I find myself saying that to people still. If I go practice or bowl with them, I'm like, just finesse the ball. What are you doing? What are you forcing it for? So I talk about life like I do with bowling. It's like you're just finessing through each day with life, and every day's, you know, hard. And I think the biggest thing that I admire about you the most is that even though you deal with anxiety and panic attacks for whatever causes those and when, like I've said before on this podcast, we never know when panic attacks are coming or anxiety. It just kind of just happens. And it could be one little thing that sets it off. But I think the biggest thing with you is like, you still go about everything else that you have your hands in, that you hold yourself accountable and responsible for, and you're in charge of other people's upbringing in the bowling community and in their life, and you still go about it with such grace and passion that it's like, who wouldn't love Heather Sterner? Your husband are like the dynamite couple. Like, You guys are very much very good for each other. You're a powerhouse. I've always admired. Jason's always smiling, always laughing. He's always, you can just tell like he's the life of the party when he's around people. Of course, we all have our moments, but it's just great to see. It's been really good to see like your posts and stuff on social media, just to see what all you do. That there's more to Heather than just the Heather that was depicted in the Bowler's Journal, which was very inspiring. But I just wanted to know, like on your, that's such a cute photo. So I just wanted to know, when you experience panic attacks, what are the feelings you get when you experience them? Because I know for everybody, like for me, it's different than somebody else I know that gets them as well. So what are some of your, I guess, triggers for them or sensations you get?
So the first time I experienced a panic attack, I thought I was having a heart attack. We were practicing. It was after an event in Cleveland, and we were practicing at a center because I thought I was going to bowl the regional the next day. Come to find out, I forgot to actually sign up for it, but I wasn't going to end up bowling anyways because I ended up at the hospital. We were practicing, and I just remember getting this like chest pain that just felt so weird, almost like there's like a kink. Like I started stretching and like trying to like move around because I felt like a rib needed to pop or something. I'm like, what is going on? And it wasn't going away. And then I started to get like shortness of breath because I'm starting to get nervous. Like, what's wrong with me? Right. And I remember looking at Jason and being like something isn't right. Like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't normal. So I sat down for a little bit. He went and got me some water. I tried to like lay down. They had like the comfy L chairs there at that center. And I tried to lay down for a little bit. Nothing was really helping. So I'm like, chest pain is pretty serious. I should probably just go make sure that, we're supposed to drive home for 4 hours. I want to make sure that this isn't something I need to be really concerned about. So we went to actually an urgent care first. And the urgent care is where they wanted me to go to the hospital. They didn't find anything alarming right away, but they wanted me to go to the hospital just to make sure so they could run some more tests. So we went to the hospital, it was like across the street, and sitting there, they did like the EKGs. They're just checking everything they can check, and blood work, everything's coming back normal. And they were like, you could have been experiencing a panic attack, because we were talking about how I competed in a tournament the day before and I was practicing. I'm an athlete. And they're like, it sounds like a panic attack. So, I would follow up with your provider, when you get back. And that to me was just the alarming point where I was like, I need to ask for help with this, because I thought a lot of my anxiety was just normal performance anxiety that people get, like the nerves before competing and how I would feel when I got done bowling, where it felt like the world was ending and I was just absolutely miserable. I thought all that stuff was just normal. And so that was the point where it just seemed like something was not normal for me to have those chest pains. It was like more was happening in my body that I was not aware of, or I was trying to like mentally override, like, it's fine, it's fine. So that was my first experience with panic attacks. Since then, I haven't had the chest pain. It's more of like overwhelming emotion where I uncontrollably will start crying or just like hyperventilating. Like on the plane, it was the hyperventilating, having trouble breathing, shaking really bad. And it just took a really long time for me to calm down.
Like you're overstimulated, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because if anyone comes up in that moment too, like Jason's still trying to figure out how to help me in those moments too, because sometimes you feel so overstimulated that you don't want someone to come up and ask you what's wrong. You're like, get away from me, right? I remember one time I had one at the US Open in the bathroom. Like I ran to the bathroom because I was just like full panic mode. And my mom and my sister followed me and they're like trying to talk to me, trying to help me. And I'm like, leave me alone. Like, go. Like, I need a minute. I got to go back out there and bowl. Like less is more right now. I just need to collect myself. So it definitely feels overstimulating for me when it happens. Like, I just need to focus on my breathing and like ground myself somehow.
Yeah. So I was explaining this to somebody last year. So there's a championship bowlers tour that I'm a part of, and they're actually going to be on our show in a few weeks. But they're the ones that broke me of my nervousness on a camera. So they live stream all of the tour events. And the first time I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I was more freaked out about the camera behind lane 9 and 10 than I was what was going on down lane. So then I wasn't watching ball motion. I wasn't following like my step counts. I wasn't setting in my approach correctly. And that broke me of that. But I remember one time I literally experienced that. I pulled myself out of a squad because I'm like, I can't do this. This is too much. And then when I went back and rewatched the stream, I could see the changes, like the evolution changes of from beginning to when I pulled out of a squad. Cause I'm like, this is where it started. My body mannerisms were different. I was looking at the camera instead of just paying attention to lanes. Now I'm completely over it. I don't even notice the cameras are there half the time. And I just act like a dork. But I haven't ever bowled and participated in some of the bigger events like you guys have. And I would really like to make it back to the East Coast, Midwest. We haven't had anything PWBA out on what we consider West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California for a while. Supposedly there's supposed to be something coming out here, hopefully in the next year or two, out to the Seattle way, which will be exciting. So I very much can relate to what you're saying with the panic attacks. For me, I used to be, and I've had a few in the last year where it's like, you feel like you're going to have a heart attack. Your stomach drops. Your stomach is so upset. You feel like you could vomit. You get really shaky. There's times where I want somebody to just like put their hand on my back and be like, it's okay. Just breathe. And there's other times I'm like, stay away from me. I don't even know what I'm thinking or feeling. It just feels like a big, huge blur. And same thing with me. I went to the doctor for just generalized anxiety and they did all the tests and I'm like, everything's fine. Because at that time I had a heart condition as well. So I was thinking it was my heart condition. And come to find out it's severe like chronic anxiety and panic attacks. And I didn't know panic attacks could be so similar to what a heart attack feels like or just what uncontrollable anxiety feels like. So it's still hard for me to differentiate the two. But I totally can relate with you where you say like sometimes you just need your space and it is hard for your spouse to figure out when to step in and help and when not to. I know for me, I took this last summer off really from practicing a whole lot. We went today in practice and it's probably the third time we've touched bowling balls in 4 months. I've done one tournament the whole time and it's been really refreshing for me mentally. So I'm ready to get back into tournaments and bowling. So did you at some point take some time off from bowling aside from coaching and staying fit and all of that just to get yourself back to a place of like zen on the lanes?
I did when I became pregnant. So I kind of saw that as like, all right, I'm going to be pregnant. I need to take a break from this at some point. I mean, there are some women that like compete while they're pregnant all the way up until 8-9 months. And I have no idea how they did that because it's like 6 or 7 months. I was still feeling good going to the gym. I worked out all throughout my pregnancy, but the thought of bowling still felt like, I don't really want to compete in this state. Like I didn't want to put that kind of, I know that it stresses me out when I compete and I didn't want to put that kind of stress on my body, like the emotional, mental stress of that versus just the physical stress of going to the gym.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of time off and I made sure like I kind of like promised myself I wasn't going to try to bounce back super quick after pregnancy, postpartum. I really wanted to make sure that I took my time, getting my body back, getting my strength back, just getting back to a point where I felt like I wanted to bowl, not that I had to go bowl because, all right, I'm back to doing all the other things, but no, I actually have the desire to go bowl. I waited for that because I think for a long time, it was also, like you said, you're on staff representing companies. So you get this feeling like you have to go out and compete or, oh my gosh, these companies aren't going to want me anymore if I'm not bowling in anything. Right. Mm-hmm. So you start to feel this pressure to like, you're obligated to go compete in everything. And I wanted to make sure postpartum that I just took my time and waited until I was really ready and had the desire to compete for me and not anybody else.
Yeah, that's good. So
Yeah.
when did the fitness thing start for you, that you have all of your, now do you just do online or do you do in-person stuff as well for coaching and nutritional?
It's mostly online, but I do have the facility that I trained at here for years, Next Level Strength and Conditioning in Fairport. It's like a second home to me still. The owner was actually my next door neighbor growing up, so we were always really close. So I always have the option, like if I want to train some clients in person, if somebody reaches out, I can still do one-on-one training. It's just like kind of fitting it into the craziness of the college coaching schedule, because that's like my full-time thing right now. But fitness for me started in college when I went for applied health sciences in my undergrad, and then kinesiology for my master's degree. And after that, I really dove into creating programs for bowlers, because I saw all the other sports that I got to work with and how they trained outside of their sport and in the gym. And I'm like, well, why doesn't bowling do this? Like, actually, we're on our feet all day long in a competition and it's pretty exhausting. Like, we should probably be in the gym too doing this stuff. And so, yeah, that's when my passion for that really started.
That's
right
awesome.
after college.
That's awesome. So when does that season start for you technically?
Technically October 1st. We have like the NCAA rules are kind of weird. We have 8 days that we can use prior to our official season start date of October 1st. So we have like 2 weeks of preseason in September.
Okay. So are you already prepping your athletes and everything for it? That's awesome. I'll be excited to see how you do. Now, is Jason an assistant head coach as well?
He is. He's a volunteer assistant coach because he's only with us for really half the season, because once the PBA season starts in January, he goes and does that, and it's just me coaching. So we're actually going to have another assistant coach that's going to be a paid assistant coach helping us this year as well. So we'll have 2 assistant coaches.
That's awesome. So do you find like juggling the PWBA, I mean, the regionals or the tour, and then the PBA schedule, and then now your daughter, 17 months old, you said, right? And
13.
then you have 13. Okay, 13 months old. And then you have the collegiate stuff that you're doing as coaching, and plus you have all the fitness stuff. You keep yourself pretty busy, which I know for an anxiety type mindset, or maybe overthinking or overstimulated, it's great to stay busy because it keeps your mind off of things. But do you ever find that having that much going on does cause you sometimes to have additional anxiety, or does it actually help filtrate it a little bit better?
I think a little bit of both, really. I mean, I think at times, I don't know, I just have that brain that like I get so interested in so many different things. I would be a lifer in school if money grew on trees and I could afford to just keep going to college. I would just keep going for more degrees, because I love school. I love learning, and I could dive into medical. I could see myself going to medical school. I really would. But I don't want the student loan debt. That's not going to happen anytime soon. So I just enjoy doing many different things. And the thought of taking one of them off the plate, like, oh, what if I didn't do this anymore at all? The only one that I am a licensed massage therapist, and I had my own massage therapy practice. That was the only thing that I was like, I could take this off the plate and not have any anxiety leaving that behind. I'm good with, like, I have the knowledge of it, but I don't need to be practicing it, and I'm okay. But the other things, like, I love them so much, and I'm so passionate about it that I think it would just bring me more anxiety to not be doing them. And I do need to keep busy. I think I get more anxiety when I don't have enough on my plate. Yeah. Right?
We're exactly, like, I had somebody say to me, like, you always have something going on. Like, you're always doing something. I'm like, I have to. If I sit and I have too much downtime, that's when the brain starts overthinking, and then I get anxiety, and then I I wonder if I'm doing enough or if I'm good enough. And so I always have to have my hands in something. I would rather, and I will say this till the day I die, I've always said there's no failing in trying. So if I can try everything just once, just to see if I'm good or bad at it, or maybe eat a slice of humble pie, it's better than not trying at all. So I'm with you. Like I got a degree in medical assisting, and I love the medical field. I miss it. That's not what I do for work now. But if I could afford to go back to school and work on some more degrees, I definitely would, because that's, and physical fitness and medical field and nutrition and all of that go hand in hand. And I just, I find it very fascinating that back when I was little, I would go to the local bowling alleys. When I was 6, I started bowling. And even when I was a teenager, that was when smoking was allowed in the bowling facilities still, and drinking. And you see all these heavy set bowlers. There's no really fit bowlers. And now the tables have turned, because now you're starting to see bowlers. It's starting to become more about like, where's my water bottle? And I got my workout in, and I'm sore from leg day yesterday, but now I have to bowl a tournament. And you're not seeing so much of this this normalcy of just lots of beer around and smoking, and people, I still see it in some of the bowling facilities that I take part in here. It's just not as prominent. I've actually had people come up and ask me like, can you help me lose weight? I don't know how to, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm like, first thing, give up the beer. You're bowling 4 leagues a week, and you're drinking beer every night. Not only is that expensive, it's terrible. It's horrible on your body. Mm-hmm. But I do find there's a limitation with physical fitness and bowling. There's days where I would work out super hard, and then I would go try to bowl the 2-day theory, 2 days later, you're sore than the day after. And so I had to learn the limitations on fitness and bowling, and not when I can and can't overdo it. But like you said, when you're bowling professionally, or even tournaments, there's tournaments I bowled 18 games in one day. I did a 20 game in one day marathon tournament last year, and it's a lot. People don't understand. They're like, it's just bowling. I'm like, no, when your glute and your hamstrings on fire and your shoulder and your wrist hurts, like there's a lot to it. And I find when I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm not keeping up on fluids and staying hydrated, I'm not eating properly, I'm eating too many carbs, I'm not getting enough sleep, that's when I'm at poor performance level. And I do that to myself. So the more tournaments I bowled last summer, the summer before last, I realized how important it was for me to take care of my body and stay as physically fit or agile as I could. Do things like yoga to elongate the muscles and stretch out. Go get massages. Like you said, massages are great for that too, to keep you loosened up. Or go sit in there's a steam room in Twin Falls where I live. And so you can go sit there in a sauna or steam room, and those are very beneficial too. And so I think the more people are start realizing that their fitness and health does have a lot to do with performance, I think we'll start seeing the tables turn a little bit, with people taking it a little bit more seriously. So I really commend what you're doing. I think it's awesome. You are kind of a face for all little knacks of what bowling incorporates, which is fitness and nutrition, and making sure that mental health wise, you have a good foundation for that. And you're surrounding yourself, like I always said, you're surrounding yourself with positivity and the right support and good people. And that always plays a huge role in it as well. So just because I'm curious, I know professional athletes always have their people who have inspired them along the way. So if you have a professional athlete to pick, male or female, like who's inspired you the most to keep going in your journey and keep trying to be your best?
Oh man. Might sound really cheesy, but my husband.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, he changed my perspective in a lot of ways too. When we got married, when I met him, before we got married, when I met him and just saw the way he goes about and carries himself on the lanes and off the lanes, he treats people really good always. But he has such a strong mental game. Like he can bounce back from a bad game really, really quickly, or at the end of a bad block. he'd be like, it's just bowling. Like I can bounce. I know I have the confidence that I can jump back into this cut. I can throw a really good block. Like he never gives up. He does not care if his back against the wall. He doesn't care what anyone thinks of him either. And that was a huge thing for me. I was always way too concerned about what other people thought of me. And he would always ask me, like, why do you care what so-and-so says about you, what they think about you? Like, you just go do you. Like, someone's always going to have something to say. Why let that get in your way? Right.
Yeah.
So he's always been my inspiration with how he just is so mentally tough and doesn't let anything get to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I reached out to somebody that knows you too, and he was like, yeah, they're New Yorkans. They're awesome. It's like, yeah, I'm like, they're the most genuine people that you could have like talk on a show. Like they're not, like you could have any bowler on any given day who puts up good scores and wins things all the time. But at the end of the day, like our show is about relatability. So people being able to relate to somebody at a ground surface level, that it's another human being that has a normal life outside of the professional atmosphere and can really give us some hope and inspiration that we're not alone, and other people experience it too, that might seem like they have it all together, but sometimes they don't. And so for me, it's been great to get to know like some of the ladies like this. The last 2 years I've competed with the Vanderbilt University girls at women's nationals. And it's been great. There's all types of personalities within that group. There's girls that have experienced injury, come back from injury. There's girls that have experienced, like me and you, anxiety or mental health setbacks. And then there's some that just, I really, really, really admire Josie Barnes. She's fantastic.
I do that too. I think that's the next pick.
Yeah, she's very genuine and very humble, and is one of those that she seems like she has it all together, which she does, but she's been through a lot to get to where she's at. So it's very cool to see what she's been doing this year. So, and I was I followed your scores this last week, and when you posted them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's people like me. I'm like, I'd give anything to bowl that and a block on that pattern against. I mean, for me, I know if I were to be I've never been in one of those settings yet where there's hundreds of PWBA or just professional bowlers, and then you've got, the big names that are there. I know for me, walking through the door would be heart pounding, like jaw dropping. That would give me more nervousness than the pattern on the lane or whatever ball I'm throwing that day or whatever games I throw. It'd be being around some of the best in the world and competing against them for me it would be great, but it would also, for me, I'd have to learn how to cope with that, getting to that point. So for me, that's the biggest thing I've had to learn with my anxiety, is how to cope with it when I'm on the lanes. So with that being said, do you have like a pre-tournament or pre-game, I guess, like ritual that you do to kind of hone in on yourself to bring yourself to a place of composure before you start bowling?
I haven't quite developed that yet.
Like a pre-game routine. I know some people have routines. I have one.
The number one thing, I always have to get my warm-up routine in. Like I need to physically feel like I've loosened my body up, and because I do that before I practice too. So, everything I've read and talked to sports psychologists about is like, you want to keep that process the same. What you do before practice and what you do before a tournament should be the same and not different. Otherwise, your brain is thinking they're two different things, right? So I tried to keep it more relaxed going into, this past week was my first week competing since 2022 on the PWBA tour, unless you count the Lucy, which I bowled with Jason. So it had been a while since I had gone through, started medication for my anxiety, had my daughter, all of these things. So it was really a good test to see how I responded being in that atmosphere. because the last time I bowled a PWBA event in that center was the US Open in 2023? No, 2023 or 20. Yeah, 23. It's 23 because my dad passed away in 22, and it was after that. And that was like my lowest of low that week. I remember I bowled a 111 game. That was when I went in the bathroom, like I talked about earlier, and just had my full meltdown. And I remember the pressure of bowling in my home center felt like more as well, because I knew all the people that were coming to watch me, and I felt like I didn't want to let them down. So it was even more hard for me to manage my anxiety in that element. So this week going into it, I just wanted to be more relaxed about it. And instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, all these people are coming here to watch me, I'm going to let them down if I bowl bad, I went into it just like, this is really cool. These people are here to watch all these women, and it's an honor just to be here. I'm grateful that I can compete. And, you know, my true friends, the people that are really in my corner and that are my fans, are going to still be my fans at the end of the day, and my people in my corner, whether I bowl a 111 game or a 300 game, right? So remembering that, I think, was the biggest thing for me this week. It wasn't really anything that I did differently in my routine getting ready, other than just going in more relaxed, like I would for a practice session, like not putting it on a pedestal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I found with my anxiety, I have a pre-tournament routine, and then I have a pre-league routine. And then I remind myself it's no different than every pre-shot routine. So my pre-shot routine is the same exact one every single time. I don't ever default from it at all. But pre-tournament, I had a friend one time recommend this to me, and I took it and ran with it, and it works. I lay myself down on the floor, especially a lot of times I'm in a hotel room, put a towel over my face, and I just envision the center. If I've already visited it or been at it, I will go to it the day before so I know what I'm in for. And I will envision that center in my head, and just it's me in the lane, me in the lane, me in the lane. And I just sit there and envision that for like 15, 20 minutes. Then I get up and do my stretches. Now, pre-league routine, I will jam out to anything that puts me in a good, fierce mood. That's my pre-league mood. And I just keep with myself. And I've had people, I'm assuming you're a lot like me. You're very, very spunky, very smiley, positive, very friendly. And there's days where my anxiety or something along the lines will hinder my ability to be that person and show up as that person. And so I'll be very quiet and very stoic in nature, just very reserved. And oftentimes people see that as a sign of something being wrong. Or I've had people say like, what is it, your anxiety today? And that's like the rudest thing to say to somebody, because you're using their vulnerability of what they've opened up to about you against them. So then it makes me shut down even more. But I'm like, no, I'm just in my thoughts. I'm just processing. I just want to be left alone. So it's kind of that panic attack moment where you want to be left alone and you don't want anybody to come over to you, because you already know if you're having a bad day and anxiety is starting to set in, the last thing you want is people in your face and asking you what's wrong and what are you feeling and how come you're not smiling? Are you not having fun? Are you in a bad mood? So I think some people, as we get to opening up more about mental health awareness, and especially with athletes, we can not only be there for each other, but try to understand each other a little bit more. I talked to one other professional bowler last year, and I won't mention names. She gave me some very good advice, and she's since stepped away from bowling professionally, because it got to be to the point it was not only hindering her performance on the lanes, but it was affecting her everyday life and her self-confidence and how she felt about herself. And going around feeling like you're a constant letdown eventually will wear on a person. So the best advice she gave to me was, when you start to feel like it's work and you're no longer actually enjoying any part of it, then that's when you need to make a decision. Are you doing this for the sake of other people's feelings or the sake of what other people want you to be? Or are you doing it for yourself? So I think it's commendable when people like females like you, that you're professional, you've done some great things, but you're still humble enough to be like, look, I'm a human being, and I don't want to be known as just the bowler. Like I have, I have a couple people in my life. They're like, yeah, my girlfriend, she's bowls professionally, and she's a bowler, and I'm like, that's not all I am. I'm not just a bowler. And so it's nice and refreshing to hear you say that, where you don't want your identity to be you're just a bowler now. You're a mom, you're a head coach, you've got all your other stuff going on that you're doing. So I think it's great. But I really want to thank you for being on the show today. It means a lot. And it's really nice to hear that there's other athletes, or just athletes in general, that struggle just like the everyday human being. I think sometimes we forget, we put athletes on a pedestal and we think that they're far greater than us. And we sometimes forget, because we see you on TV screens or we see you in the media, that we think that there's no way they could have lives like us. Theirs has got to be so great. Yeah. So it's nice to see that you're able to be vulnerable and real with us and share some of your experiences. The panic attacks and anxiety is no joke. So I'm glad that you found ways to cope with that and deal with it on everyday life. I might have to take up some gardening. You're not the first one that said gardening helps. So let Jason laugh at you all he wants.
It's like the mindless things. Like he likes painting. Like painting is a mindless. I need to have him paint over here on this wall. I'll finish that. But, it's like the mindless things that just takes your mind off everything, and you could just kind of escape to another place for a little bit.
Yeah. I do have one other question, just because I just thought of it. Does anybody else in your life or your family, have they ever struggled with anxiety or panic attacks as well? Okay. So, because I'm finding that sometimes it's based upon the person and things they've been through in their life with trauma or just in general. And then other times it's genetic. There's, as more research is coming out, they're talking about there's chemical imbalances in the brain that cause some of these, which is where we get like neurofeedback. I've been talking to somebody that does that. There's the lens therapy. There's all kinds of things that people are doing to help with anxiety and depression and panic attacks and what have you. So I just wondered on your side if it's genetic.
Yeah, it definitely runs in my family. And I think that was part of the aha moment for me, that wasn't just performance anxiety in my life that I was experiencing, that I actually had, anxiety disorder, was when I made the call to my doctor telling her about the panic attack. And I remember, I will never forget when she said this and just explained, you could do all the things. You could go do meditation, yoga, because I told her all the things I was trying. I'm seeing a sports psychologist. I've seen multiple sports psychologists. I'm reading all these books. I take care of myself physically in the gym. I do meditation. I'm doing all the things, but this is still happening. And she said, you could do all the things, and sometimes the chemicals in your body, your hormones, are just not releasing the way that they're supposed to. And I like to explain it to people. It's kind of like diabetes. If you look at diabetes, there's type 1, type 2, right? Type 1, you're born with it. There's nothing you can do to change that. It's just the way that your body was born and how chemicals are processing in your body. Versus type 2, yes, you can usually reverse it. Like there are things that you can do. Usually it's onset later in life, and there's something to do about it. So I think with anxiety, there's different forms of it, and where sometimes it's just the way your body is. It's not anything that you have to control. It's just, that was like the aha moment for me, because I was trying to do all the things to control it. And I was trying to avoid medication, really, because I was like, I don't need medication. I can do this on my own. But when I heard that, I was like, it's not my fault, right? It's not my fault that this is what's happening within my body. So I think that that's the thing I want people to understand the most about anxiety is it's not, people sometimes talk about it lightheartedly, like it's just something you can change about yourself. And it isn't always that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've talked about that in a previous episode on this podcast, actually, where we talked about coping without medication and taking medication. And and how that all works. And I've been trying to cope without the medication. But there again with you, like there's going to be a point in time where maybe what I'm doing or have been doing isn't going to work anymore. And maybe the medication is the answer. And I think the biggest problem, like you kind of touched on it, it's not something that you can control a lot of times. And I think there's a lot of shame that comes from people when they talk about having anxiety or depression or being bipolar or having things, they have a lot of shame, and then they might have some guilt. And so they don't want to go to the doctor. They don't want to reach out because they don't want to know. So not knowing is better. They have all the signs and they know they're there. So they try to just cope in whatever way they can until they realize like this isn't working. Because eventually what happens is it ends up screwing up other facets of your life. It ends up screwing up possibly how you perform at work, like how you perform as an athlete, how you are in a relationship, how you are with your children. So it can affect a lot of things. And I think if we can get people to realize, like get past the level of shame and guilt that comes with accepting instead of being in denial that you might have something like a chemical imbalance, then maybe we'll be in a better spot for people to be open and more talkative about it and be more understanding towards others that have it and not be so judgmental and criticizing. Because I know when I first came out and talked about my anxiety, I was very curious, but also felt a little bit uneasy on if I would be judged or criticized by other people. So about it, especially in, professional setting, or even just in a bowler setting, in an athlete's world, any athlete's world. I mean, it's not just bowlers, there's athletes all over the world that deal with all of this. If you can imagine, there's some people that they are doing their sport to make money, like they're putting food on the table. And if they don't get that win, then their family's starving. So I want to talk about anxiety and performance pressure. So yeah, but so anyways, I really thank you for being on the show, Heather, especially later in the evening. I was hoping that wouldn't mess with your schedule too much, but we appreciate it. It's awesome to hear. I've had a lot of people we've had really good feedback this week with having you on the show. Everyone's been super excited. So you have quite the following.
Well, I'm honored to be did you say I'm the first guest?
Yes, you're the first live guest.
Yes.
So awesome. So I'm honored that I could be a part of this and what you're doing. It's really great.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And thanks for sharing and getting the word out there about it. We have a lot of people that re-listen and restream usually the day after or the week following. So it'll get out there. And did you say your home center is ABC Gates Bowl?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I saw that they shared the post about tonight. So that's great. So anyways, well, good luck to you. Do you have any upcoming events that you're bowling in anymore? And are you just plugging right into collegiate bowling?
I'm debating. There's this Beat the Champ tournament at ABC Gates Bowl this weekend, and it's just kind of like walk-in entries if you want to bowl, but there's a TV show at the end of it. It's a really cool thing that they started. So I might bowl that since I'm already, fresh off of doing a lot of bowling and feeling pretty good about my game. So after that, it'll be more just focusing on the college team and, bowling some local stuff here and there when we're not traveling with them.
Okay. Well, good luck to you with all of that. And I hope the collegiate team does well. So, and we wish you and Jason the best, and take care of your daughter. She's a cutie.
I will. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. We appreciate you.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
You too. Thank you. Well, another great show, and she's a fantastic person. That was a really, really great idea to have her on from you.
She's great. It was a little nerve-wracking. I got asked if I was nervous. My boyfriend's mom always asks. She's always like, "You're such a natural. You're going to have a great podcast." I'm like, I'm actually really nervous. I'm more nervous for this one than I was for the ones just me talking. Because
no, you did great. You're very good.
I idolize Heather. I don't think she knows that, but when I read her article, I literally was in an airport and I remember breaking down in tears, and I'm just like, she said everything in that article. I wish I still had that magazine on me. Everything in that article was to a T what I've felt before on and off the lanes. And it was just really admirable for somebody at that level to be so open about something, especially in a magazine that, you know, thousands upon thousands of people are going to read, and not just bowlers, like everybody. And I remember passing it around when I got home and had people read this, like, read this article. This is me. And so when she said yes, I was dumbfounded, because obviously, like I said, I was throwing all Brunswick equipment. So obviously her husband, Jason Sterner, there's a few of them I idolize that throw Brunswick equipment and really listen in on, you know, the equipment that they recommend and things that they're doing and things they believe in. And you kind of just have that following. But to see another female that's, she's not the first one that I've come across. And I wouldn't say it's not anything against the other ones that I've come across that are professional that deal with anxiety or panic attacks or depression, but she has been the one that's been the most humble, genuine, and most open to talk about it. And not just talk about it, she's actually trying to make a difference with what she's been through. And she continues to thrive with everything else that she's doing in life. And I mean, with all of that, with everything else that she's dealing with as well. So I just find that very inspiring, and it gives me a lot of hope. Like, sometimes I forget I'm 42. There's times I'm like, oh, I'm only in my 20s. I've got many years ahead of me. And it's like, no, I might only have another 10, 15, 20 years of bowling ahead of me. Who knows what's in store? But she's one that, she encouraged me to keep going. And, she said, it's great to acknowledge, you know, when you're dealing with something like that, and take control of it and not ever give up. She said, that's the one thing she told me, don't ever give up. So I think, yeah, she was a great first guest to have. And it's great to have people on here that have overcome things, that not just injuries or like with her, it's not just the anxiety and the panic attack. She lost her father, and then she had a baby, and she's had a lot of things to deal with. So, but she's fantastic. If anybody wants to know anything about working out along with bowling and nutritional coaching or fitness coaching and tie it into bowling, Heather's definitely your gal. So she knows her stuff.
She really does. And she has a great Instagram page as well, which I put up the link to at the bottom of the screen. Follow her at Coach_Heather Sterner. She got a lot of videos on there, not just bowling, but her workout routines and working out while pregnant, working out postpartum. She's very inspirational. She hits it pretty hard. She's in very, very good shape, and I'm sure her background in nutrition and all that definitely helped. And that's something I need to speak with her about. Just trying to dial in my diet and try to find some workout routine. Because you know, a lot of the medication I take, speaking of anxiety medication, cause weight gain. And if I get off of it, like I tried to get off of Lexapro, and I ended up getting vertigo for like 3 weeks, and it just wouldn't go away. So, and as soon as I got back on it, like it was instantly gone. So, like, you got to be careful with anxiety meds. You can't just quit them cold turkey. There's a lot of them that will really mess you up, thinking you can just drop it and get out of your system. It's not that easy.
I've been on one, Wellbutrin, actually. They told me that'll cause you to have like your appetite will decrease. Boy, I noticed a difference with that. Not only did my appetite decrease, but I just felt like a zombie, and then I just wanted to sleep, and I had it just put me in this mental fog mode. So, and I mean, we have some great guests coming up in the next several weeks going over many different things, some that don't have to do with mental health. Some are just getting to know the business and how they've achieved success and overcame challenges to get to where they're at today. But we have secured, like the people I was talking to you about, they do neurofeedback. We've secured them to be on in November. That's a little ways out, but that will be a great show to kind of see what neurofeedback is doing for people aside from medication for anxiety and depression. So I'm really excited for some of the shows that we have coming up. And my goal is to just keep getting these people that are not just your average everyday person, but the people that can actually prove that they've I mean, they've jumped the hurdles and gone through everything possible to get to where they're at, and that they had help along the way and a great support system, but they also, there has to be some kind of self-perpetuating awareness and motivation to get you to where you're at. You can't just hope and pray for things to change. You have to do some of the work. And that's where Heather's inspiring for me. I've kind of been slacking on my physical fitness and not been as consistent as I would like to be. I was there for a while. I tend to go to the extreme, as I've told you before, I go 110%. So last year was cycling, and I did 300-400 miles a month. And then this year it's been walking. And now I want to get as winter gets closer, I want to get a gym membership and get back into the gym and kind of be a little bit more consistent with that, and not just to get into bodybuilding mode. That's not what it's about for me now. It's more about the agility on the lanes and keeping strong and feeling good and keeping those muscles lengthened and strengthened so I can perform better on the lanes and be better. My job's very physical, so be better at my job and not be so drained and tired every day after work. So I think it's all around good. And like she said, nutritional and fitness aspect, I'll go hand in hand. And unfortunately, the one thing I didn't tap on with her was nutritionally, like these bowling alleys. I've been to some where they offer some very healthy options. And then there's some, it's just, your typical fries, burgers, lots of greasy things. So in the long-term scheme of things, I would like to see the bowling alleys eventually turn what they have to offer, especially to bowlers, healthier options and not just the quick throw in the fryer options. Because at the end of the day, we want to enjoy a sport and enjoy some of those comfort foods when we're bowling and having fun. And you have your cosmic bowlers and you have your kids leagues and all of that. And a lot of people are on the go after work and they go there and they eat dinner because they have league right away. But I think that bowling alleys need to be a little bit more in tune with how much the nutrition plays into the sport of bowling for competitors. So oftentimes when I go to tournaments, I don't eat because I'm sick to my stomach from anxiety. So I'll eat a protein bar or something throughout the day, like a salad or a chicken wrap or something like that, small and light. Because if I eat real heavy, it not only makes you feel sluggish, then you start swelling up because all the sodium. And if you're not drinking a lot of water, because let's be honest, bowlers kind of have to make themselves drink the water, because a lot of times you get so in tune to what's going on and moving lanes and moving equipment and who's doing what and what game you're on and watching lane play that you forget to drink water. Or if you drink too much, then you got to run to the bathroom. So then you're stalling everybody that's trying to get going. And as you well know, in professional settings, you have 2-lane courtesy, or you have the courtesy lanes that you have to provide to the other bowlers. And like we've seen before with previous history, we've talked about a couple of other professional female bowlers that have talked about that mental trance on the lanes they go through, where they're setting their approach, they're getting ready to throw their ball, and they stop in the middle of everything because they just kind of lose focus. And it's not necessarily anxiety. They just go through something where they're just not present. And then it messes up everyone around them with the 2-lane courtesy. And then they have that anxiety of feeling bad because they screwed up other people. And it's a whole thing. And so I laugh when I heard somebody last year say bowling's not a sport. They're like, bowlers aren't athletes. It's not a sport. I'm like, what are you talking about? Maybe, I mean, you can't even say that for league bowlers anymore, because league bowlers, I mean, it does take some sort of athleticism. You have balance that's incorporated. So you have balance, and then you have to have good coordination. So you can't just go up there and do whatever you want with the ball and expect something to happen. You have to have all of that combined. And so fitness does go along with that. But when you're bowling professionally or bowling in tournaments, it's even more so pertinent that it is very much a sport and does require some athleticism. So I've bowled blocks. I mean, these girls this past few days bowling 6-game blocks. That's quite a bit. I mean, if you're going to practice 6 games, anybody can throw 6 games in less than an hour for practice, but how accurate and consistent and good are you being on the lanes? Probably not well.
That's
so
true.
Anyways,
Right.
But yeah, Heather was fabulous. It's great to hear that somebody else has struggled with some of the same things I have and continues to at times. And unfortunately, like she agreed with me, was that sometimes the panic attacks and anxiety attacks, they happen out of nowhere, and you have no control over it. You don't know what's going to happen. Like she stated, she had one happen at a tournament, and as well as I have, and that's mortifying. It's the worst feeling ever to either perform, underperform, or not perform to the capabilities you're able to, or to have to pull out of a tournament or pull out of a squad because you just are not mentally there. There's been tournaments I've driven 8 hours to a tournament, and I knew I shouldn't have went. The minute I got in the car, I knew I shouldn't have went because my anxiety was it was already through the roof, and I already was not mentally prepared. And I went anyways, and I wasted like almost $500 between, and that was just for entry fees and gas. That's not even hotel or food or anything. And then you really feel like a failure because you're like, I just wasted all that money and came down here and thought I could pull through, and I couldn't, and I shouldn't have went in the first place. And I'm not the only one. There's plenty of bowlers out there that do that. But I think subconsciously we think that we have this ability to push the fear out of the way and just stomp it to the ground and get through it and we'll be okay. When essentially there's something else there that's making that happen, that we have to be a little bit more self-aware and know when to pull back and pull out of the situation, which in turn last year I learned for me, I'm not at that level yet to compete with male scratch bowlers. So if I go to a tournament and it's a scratch tournament and I know the majority of what's going to sign up is going to be males, I'm instantly out. I can't compete with these high-end male bowlers that bowl scratch, and they're averaging 240 on a house shot. They're going to average at least over 200 on a sport pattern most times. I can't compete with that. So instead of putting myself through the misery, I'm just going to not participate in those types of things anymore. So I think she's made some really wise choices with her career, and I think she's going to do great. And I think she's on a good track of progression in the right way. And she's setting a good standard for her collegiate athletes too, which is awesome to see. So anyways, next week we have a competitive, she was a competitive shooter. She is no longer a competitive shooter. She was in a tragic accident shortly after graduating high school. She's since married, and she has an amazing story to tell. This girl about sent me into tears the day I talked to her on the phone a couple weeks ago. She is incredible. She's, I think, 20 years old. She's young, and she's been through a lot. So I can't wait to have her on the show and have her share her story. And we'll be live at the same time next week. And I just wanted to remind everybody, if you want to help us out, to go onto our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button. If you're listening, hit the like button, and also follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We have a private Facebook group page, which I didn't realize we've only started that 2.5 weeks ago. We're up to 291 members. So that's pretty awesome. We just need to get some more engagement on it. And then we're on all the audio podcast platforms that there are. So you can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify. What was the other one you had on there?
Spreaker, Podcast Addict. There's pretty much anywhere you get your podcast.
So there's a lot. And I want to just thank everybody that's continued to listen in and chime in. And sometimes we don't get the interaction during the shows that we want, but I always wake up to messages the next day or throughout the week. And it's been great. People are spreading the word. And so we've been able to secure live shows all the way to almost middle of November now. So that's awesome. So
that is awesome. And that's mostly because of you. You've done a great job getting the guests. I'm used to getting the guests for my other show, but it's nice for somebody else to carry.
It's been hard. For every 30 I contact, I get like 2, and then all of a sudden in 1 week they'll all come back all at once. But it's been work. So like if anybody knows anybody that has a story to share, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. I mean, it can
we'll take
anybody that has a story to share. We'd love to have them on the show. Again, it's not just about getting people on here that are known name or have a known brand. It's about everyday people that have overcome tragedy or have overcome things dealing with mental health or loss or grievance that can help anybody else try to get through the same things. Because again, all of us are struggling with something on any given day. And we could all use a little bit of support. Like I said before, I don't have much family, but oh, hi, Pam. I don't have much family that I talk to, but my Facebook, it sounds cheesy, but my Facebook group followers, they're my family. I have someone there that have been following me for years, and they're there for me more than some of the people that I've known longer have been. So I really do appreciate that. I appreciate the following that we've had and the support and encouragement. It's been great. And we're going to continue to try to bring guests on here from all different types of walks of life just to help out. So, and get the word out there. So I think it's, I had somebody else the other day too tell me that when they're able to share their story, it's another piece of their healing puzzle for them. It's able to help them heal and get through it. And it's very eye-opening for them as well. Because sometimes until we tell our own story, we don't realize how much we've been through until we tell it, to be like, wow, I got through all of that, and now I can maybe help somebody. And that's always been my thing. If I can help just one person a day, it's worth it to me. So anyways, we look forward to next week's show, and guess we'll see everybody next week, same time.
Yep, we appreciate everybody that listens and watches here on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. And again, as Amanda said, subscribe to us in audio form as well on any podcast platform. If you can, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. That helps us get through the algorithms. And also like and share these videos on YouTube, so it helps us get noticed by more people as well. Any comments, any likes, everything helps. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and we absolutely appreciate it. So we'll be back next week again with Caitlin Cochran. We're looking forward to having her on the show. Amanda, I appreciate you as always, and we will see everybody next week. Take care, guys.